computer. Share screen, desktop. Right, folks. Okay. Let's recommence. So, hopefully you got to around part 3 would be good. If you got to as far as that, I've not finished it, of that switch configuration. Good, should remind you about how that's done. We're going to move on to the next part, which is about configuring the switches SSH, secure socket, and also port security, and why that's important. So, let's begin with this. So I mentioned this last week about collisions, and we talked about duplex then. So here we have, as kind of we've modernized and speeded up our connections, we have gigabit and 10 gigabit cards now. They do require full duplex connections to operate. So in more modern networks, you need to allow two-way sending and receiving between switches, which is called bidirectional communication. And there are some measures to automate this process, as you'll soon see. What you can do is firstly be aware that the default setting of auto for both duplex and speed and switches, if they're mismatched, they can cause connectivity issues. You can check the duplex and speed settings using the show interface command. That'll give you all interfaces or specific interface IDs, like show interface G00, give you more detail, or fast Ethernet 01. So if you just generally bear in mind, fiber is always one speed and always full duplex. To look at the duplex speed, here's the kind of commands for it. Global config conft. And as I was mentioning, you can abbreviate these commands. You just need to write int space f0/1 is enough. Don't type the full commands. Configuring the duplex speed, duplex full. What's that? Ruby?
In activity it says what is the duplex speed, and I was trying without duplex command.
Oh, I see.
I couldn't find it.
I see. So you couldn't find it in the how it's written.
Sorry, can I write it down?
Yeah, sure. It's right here. Again, you need to see the show interface, and the interface ID will give you the duplex and speed in the response. Okay. This is actually configuring, by the way. These are all configuration commands. You want this one here, probably. So configuring the duplex full or duplex half, speed 100, end, and then you're out of the interface there, back on the main level, and then you copy your run conf start. Next up, auto MDIX. This is about automation. Some switches have the automatic interface crossover feature that allows you to detect automatically the cable connection type. What have I got, a straight through or crossover cable? And configure it appropriately. The command for enabling auto configuration is here. You can see the, you go to the interface you want to work on first. That's crucial. Then you can do duplex auto, speed auto, so it'll automatically configure the negotiation with the connected device. You'll work out what it's talking to and configure it appropriately. And enabling it on the interface is MDIX auto. Okay, that's how you configure those automations. To verify its work, this is how it looks. Use the show controllers, Ethernet controller command, and results. This is being applied to a particular interface, fast Ethernet 01. It's got a little pipe here to show you, it'll just skip straight through to the bit you want, and that's what you're looking for. So when you've got those big listings, you're looking for auto MDIX on. That's the kind of feature you're looking for. Other commands to verify switch port configuration. This is useful for when we're doing port config going up. So these are the main ones. You're familiar with all of these. This one to add on. You can show the IP for an interface if you're not sure what the interface address is. That's useful also. And you also can show the MAC address table this way. And I think Betty was talking about seeing the MAC address on these switches here, that's the command to use to see inside it. Spacebar question mark will give you more commands here. You can look at dynamic and other kind of like settings. Okay, so this is it showing the running configuration, and you're looking inside it. It will show you the various things inside that particular config, the running configuration. It's just showing the layers are okay. They're both up and connected on this particular 18 port. There's your duplex command there, and there's your speed. That's what it looks like. Sorry, a bit small for the back there. So a full duplex and 100 megabits per second on that particular interface. Okay. Right. Layer issues. So this is to do with really the hardware, and just issues with the media connectivity, the cables and so on. Show interfaces will help with this. So the first line here refers to the physical layer and indicates if the interface is receiving a detect signal. Up and up is looking good. The second parameter, protocol status, this is this bit here, refers to the data link layer and indicates whether data has been configured correctly and these keeper lives are being received, just keeping it up. Here's what you want, up and up. If there's something wrong and you've got down, there's an interface problem. That's where you need to look at the interface. It could be a clash of some sort, problem with the connectivity of the cable, the crossover or straight throughs you're looking at from those. Further issues, I mean, when you're looking at an interface, you can see errors appearing from here, and you can look out for collisions, and the collisions are where you're seeing the problem. It shows you the problem here going on. There's lots of collisions on the output here and on the input. These are kind of the breakdown of those things. It just shows you the kind of things that can go wrong. It does have rumps and giants. These are different sizes of packet. Too small, the biggest, smallest ones are rumps, and the giants are the largest ones. 64 bytes, 1518 bytes. Size of those packets. You have a CRC again here, which is a checksum error. Let's find that. There's your CRC errors. There's something going on here. Output the sum of all errors. These collisions show what's being retransmitted and sent again because of the problem. So it's going to show you some problems are happening in more detail there. Now the troubleshooting of a switch problem, here's the kind of like general path to follow. You do always start with performing the show interfaces and you check its up status. If it is up, is it any noise? EMI, electromagnetic interference, sorry. It can come from other devices close to cables, or kind of like it's really affecting the quality of signal. And you can remove the sources and look at those. And again, also here, if it's up, just show that it could be a duplex setting problem on both ends. If no, if that's not the problem, the interface is down, verify, again, as I mentioned, it's a media problem, verify your cables, check them for damage on the edges. And also in here, it's about the speed, right? You can be up, so you could be down, but also that could be a speed issue. You want the same speed set to both ends. If there's a problem, I just say if you can't solve it, you have to document it and escalate it, okay, to whoever else is in charge of that network. Okay, now going to switch security. There'll be some packet tracer activities after this. Okay, so SSH. Good question asked by our friend Stuart today. It was about Wireshark. Stuart, your question, remind me. Can you get MAC addresses out of Wireshark? What do you think, folks? Wireshark, that little listening software. Give you a MAC address?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
The only reason I want to do it, not that I wanted to hack anything.
I bet.
The MAC address.
Heard that before.
TV, I mean, I was getting the information. I actually wanted it, but
Yeah, it's a TV you're configuring. What was it
I'll
called?
tell you what it is. It's like smart TV.
Yeah, yeah.
You can get an app on there.
Oh, yeah.
You go to eBay and there's all prices up to, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So you go, I don't know actually how they do this. You can go like for an IPT book for it, and they say, they give you, I'm just guessing, 200 channels.
Yep.
For 1 year, so I paid £18 to install the app, a bit like the Play Store, and then you get 7 days. So if you go there and you pay £5, and I think that's I don't know if that's a year or a lifetime license. So then you do that, and then you buy it off eBay, and then you send in, you tell him, I said to him, I've got a smart TV, but you can get these everything sort of mag boxes or cone, mag boxes. But anyway, so I've got a smart TV. So you tell him that, and then when you install the app, it shows you your MAC address. So you send him this number, and you literally send it back within an hour, and you go back into the app, and it's all working. So
you connect it that way. Sure.
You give it Sky £8 a month, it's charging £18. I mean, don't get me wrong, it could go wrong at any time, because they do take them down. But
sure.
For £18.
Okay, reasonable. So you need the MAC address of the device to authenticate it.
Yeah.
So in this situation here, Wireshark, you can ask to listen to any interface in your machine. So you've got an interface for Ethernet, you can say, "Oi, Wireshark, listen to this," or even wireless, you can as well. And it'll listen in. Now, what this is showing here is, I mean, this issue of Telnet is like, remember before you've done configurations of, allowing Telnet, VTY, virtual terminal lines in. That's normally what you do. You have VTY, allow VTY in, and VTY lets you do Telnet or TerraTerm into a device, and you can see what's happening. What it's showing here is a Telnet connection going through. Telnet is like just really transparent. It's just literally plain text of everything, is being transmitted. It's just really open-ended. It's not encrypted. It's just plain text. So if you start listening into it, whatever Telnet's doing, you can start hearing what Telnet's up to. Okay. So the reason why we apply SSH, you might have seen it on some of the configurations. I think this was a CCNA 1 test you did. You applied SSH and a modulus to it. So this configuration SSH is literally securely encrypting the access in. So you can't have a Telnet connection at all. You can disable Telnet, only allow SSH, so then it's more secure. It's a good security feature to put in, and therefore you are preventing Telnet connections and the kind of interception. Someone's Wiresharking you, this is what you get. Total junk, right? Okay. It looks like, well, a bit of meaningful stuff in there with some commands, but you get junk stuff, right? It's all encrypted. Whereas otherwise you see something like that.
Wireshark, I mean, I tried it that once, I only tried it once.
Yeah.
Can you connect wirelessly?
You can connect Wireshark to talk to your Wi-Fi, yes. You can make it listen to your Wi-Fi and what's going on, that noisy kind of like channel. You can point it to that particular interface.
No, what I'm saying is if you had a laptop and it's wireless and you're running Wireshark, you can bring it all up, so I'm pretty sure you didn't bring anything up.
A laptop running wireless, you can ask Wireshark to listen to the wireless interface and observe what's happening on that channel. Yeah. Yes, okay. You can indeed. Maybe you should look at the capture settings.
Yeah.
And just check the capture is capturing on the wireless side. Yeah. Okay. So as I've said, SSH is secure shell, and it is more secure as it allows encryption of the connection, and you can't really be picked up that way. To actually set it up, you must make sure you've got the right version of iOS. Oh my God, I did it again. Dear, dear. Right. So you must have a K9 at the end of your iOS file name. If you've got a K9, you're good. You can do cryptography to configure and use SSH. If you're not sure of your version of iOS, use the show version command to see the version provided. How do you configure SSH? So you've got to verify that it's got support. So you do it on the iOS version, like we just showed. And then you've got to start doing some configuration. You have to configure the domain name. Okay, you've got to generate something called an RSA key pair. And a key pair is both for encryption and decryption. You have like a kind of like, imagine it as being like a big, massive password, complicated password. I have one, and say Mohan has one, right? And we both have a pair, and only the pairs go together. They allow us to encrypt and decrypt data between us. So we can generate the keys, configure the user authentication. So we make up a user and we give it a password. Using the word secret makes the password encrypted too. Configure the VTY lines. These are 16 lines being configured there, 0 to 15. crucial command is transport input space SSH. Also, you can do transport input telnet. Okay. If you do both, you do transport input all for both of them. Okay, you do login, then you do login local, important command, and then exit. When you come out, you do IP SSH version 2. That will configure the version of SSH you're going to use as more secure. And then you exit from that level and you go back to the top level there. Okay. This login local forces the use of local database for username and password. It doesn't refer to a remote database responder, it's just local. All right. How do you verify its work? So use PuTTY is a good software for secure socket layers. It's a little free app you can download called PuTTY. And you configure the parameters. You go into your connection here, and within this, you put your IP address in, and you tick the SSH box. Okay. Then you put on your little username and password, admin, as we did before, and your password was CCNA or whatever it was, and then you're in. Okay, that's your secure connection. To verify it, SSH status is show space IP space SSH. Your commands there, and you can also show SSH2 and look at the encryption. This is something called AES256, is an encryption method. I'll show you this an extent of how many bits are used to make this what we call a hash, and that is what we use to make this scramble the stuff that we're sending backwards and forwards. There's your username there. Okay. Well, that's what the key looks like, by the way. Like this. Here's your little key. See that? There's a key there. Look at that. That's the key. That's being used to scramble. Base 64 it used to scramble. There's loads of algorithms for this type of stuff, right?
There's a video on that.
Oh yeah.
Done that 2 years ago. They literally took them years to make that. Didn't it? I think it's like mathematicians made that.
It has evolved over time. That's right, and it's something to do around wartime. It developed from wartime onwards, Second World War, when they were using encryption, started using encryption methods. And became more sophisticated during Cold War and blah, 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 onwards and onwards. It's always war has something to do with this stuff for some reason.
Money and war.
Money and war, yeah, sadly. More conspiracy theories, I think. Yeah. See that Russia and America, it's India or Pakistan, Iran, Iraq, Scotland and England. Turing. It's Turing. Alan Turing, yes. I think he's the one you're referring to. Code breaker. Some real clever mathematical personalities. So this is a little packet tracer command. We can do this, we'll pick this up at the end. Okay, how you do SSH configuration. So this is a packet tracer, so it will be simulated and you can make sure you're doing it right. So that'll come up later. Let's go on. Now, ports. As you know, you could have a high port density on a switch, which means many ports. And they're not all being used, are they? So what you would do is you can shut down and secure unused ports. No need having them in, right? You can just have them off. So otherwise, someone could walk up, whack a laptop in there, and off we go. Start doing some funny business. So what you do is there's a few commands you can do. You can configure multiple ports using something called the interface range command, and you'll see what that looks like in a minute. You also can do it individually by disabling any interface going inside it and using the shutdown command. We use no shut to enable it. We can use shutdown to turn off interface 2. On for the engineering journal. So what's this about? So giving port security, we can limit the number of available MAC addresses allowing to transmit data through to a switch port. Okay, so if, for example, you had a port which had it enabled and an unknown MAC address sends data, we have got a security violation. Okay. So if I don't know you, who you are, and my security is on, you try and get into me, no entry. The default number of secure MAC addresses allowed is 1. Okay, so you always have to have 1 anyway. And the way you then configure the MAC address with port security is using the following commands. So this is in your skills test, by the way, folks. I've seen it in there, so just bear in mind this is quite a crucial thing to remember. Switch port, space, port-security, MAC address, space, MAC, actual MAC address. Okay? Static, this is for static secure MAC addresses. That's the manual configuration. Dynamic secure MAC addresses are dynamically learned and removed as the switch restarts. They're just like more modern switches have dynamic features. There's also something called sticky secure MAC addresses. These are learned dynamically and added to the running configuration. Okay, so later on they can stick in that running config. You can save it, and it will retain the MAC addresses further. This is probably the best way of doing it. Disabling this converts these addresses to dynamic secure addresses and takes them out of running configs. So they go back to that level. Okay. Violation modes. So protect means data from unknown source is dropped. That's the best setting in this one. A security notification is not presented by the switch. Okay, you don't know if it happens or not. Restrict is again the same, but you do give a security notification. So it says no entry or whatever you write it to be. Okay. And it's also increment, something called a violation counter. This tracks how many times an attempt has been made to get into a switch. Shutdown, default mode interface becomes error disabled and the port LED turns off. The violation counter increments here as well. It issues the shutdown and then the no shutdown command to bring it out of the error disabled state. So the various types of thing and what they do. Something called syslog, by the way, is to do with network maintenance. It is a routine error reporting that it has. Syslog, you can turn it on and it has like, it's like a command line, so like a console that writes to a batch file that shows all the errors coming up. Display of error messages, the violation counter goes up on these two. And this one shuts down the port, shut down itself. Okay, port security, how you in configuring port security. The default setting of port security is disabled on a port. You have at least one secure MAC address, which you must have. The violation mode is shut down in this particular setup here. And sticky address learning is disabled on this particular port to start with. Okay, that's what we've got here. So now we're going to continue to sort some stuff out. So here's our starting point. Port security is disabled, shut down, and this is also disabled. Let's see what happens here. So before we start configuring the security features, you go into access mode and use the switch port security interface config command to enable port security on an interface. What you can see happening here is, this is don't forget this command here, folks. So here we go. This is what you're going to do. Go to the interface to configure via the config terminal. Switch port mode access, which means I can then start adjusting security settings. Then switch port security enables port security on the interface. Without that, it's not going to happen. Okay. Next one up. Going further, I want to make this a sticky port, which learns dynamically as you go along and adds it to running configuration. I still need to obviously back up my running config. So further to this, I add switch port security maximum 10. That allows 10 addresses to be connected maximum. Yeah, and enables, that's what that's the number of files it will store or records it will store. And then enabling sticky learning is this little word sticky at the end of it, or after the word MAC, the word MAC address, not the actual MAC address, but the word MAC address. Sticky there. Okay.
What's that?
Well, it's enabling sticky learning, which is every time a new device connects in, you know, which is dynamically learned by the switch, it adds it automatically to a running configuration file, like you typing it yourself. Yeah, so it just does it automatically. All right, that's the sticky learning system. 48. How do I verify that I've done the right stuff? So we can use show port-security interface to verify how many MAC addresses are allowed and how many were actually learned dynamically using sticky. So it's just showing me so far. Dynamic is here. So that's dynamics allowing a maximum of 1. It's got 1 MAC address. This has got 10 MAC addresses. So far it's got 1 sticky MAC address. Okay, this is the status here.
Sorry, stop me going.
Yes, please.
You know, like this is 10 MAC addresses.
Yeah.
So that'd be 10 terminals.
And it's allowing 10 10 connections via devices. You know, from that maximum 10.
Because we only allowed a maximum 10. So this is
Yeah.
there is a 10.
That's correct. That's where 10 comes from. Just 10 entries or connections here. that particular interface, you know. Still quite a lot. That's what it's learning in the MAC address table. Okay, so to see the learned MAC addresses, what they actually are, you can see this too. You can do a show run and look at the fast Ethernet 019, and you'll get here the addresses being listed up in the running config. As I said, this is what's being added each time. That's the MAC address there. Also, you can see how they were learnt by doing show port-security address. And there you get the 2 ports that were set up and how they were learnt, these MAC addresses. This is by dynamic. This is by sticky. Those 2 there. Okay. Next one up is 50. Now, if there's an error message or port security violation, this link status goes to down. See it changed to down there? Because a violation's occurred on 18. So there's some sort of error detected. Violation occurred on that port. Switch closes it down. Okay, and it's responding to the security breach there. So what you then should do, you're meant to do is you're meant to check the port status and security settings via various commands. You can find out what happened.
Do they run? Do you get like reports coming up and sent to things are down, or
Well,
you haven't
yeah.
checked it?
It's you're right. If you're operating a switch, right, and you're the network manager, then your switch will give up. Like the switch is running, isn't it? And if, you look at it and go, what's going on? But what it is, it also has within it a log file, which you can check routinely for this sort of situation. It's called syslog, allows that to show you what's going on. Syslog is something you enable on devices, so it just runs, and it will report errors back to a central point. Maybe your server machine, one you've got as an administrator, will get the alert sent to it when it arises. Depends on how responsive you wish to be. Every little thing that happens. It's quite rare to get security breach on a switch anyway. In this situation, yeah. But on a large organization of maybe thousands of machines, it's a different story. Particularly when there's technology experts who work there too, but those sort of people know their stuff. The router is more of a concern, because the router is like the bridge to the outside world. That's where it's more likely to get attacked, which is why you put firewalls often in front of anything entering a router. The firewall is all that stuff. Cisco security is about CCNA security. It's all about firewall. ASA is called ASA. Okay, so you check your settings out, see what's going on. Oh my God, I've got a problem here. This is a shutdown situation. I've got a violation. It tells you the last source address, gives you some clue there. Who's that? Yeah, and then you don't re-enable it. You can work out what is the threat, investigate and eliminate it. Okay, you must first shut the port down and then issue the no shut command to use the port again after a security violation has occurred, because you've shut it down. You've got to do no shut to reopen it and look at it. And there it is being done here. So the 2 final packet tracer activities here are configuring the switch port security with the commands I just showed you. And also the next one is troubleshooting the switch port security, like problem solving. It shows you a little problem here. This person who uses PC1 brought his laptop home, disconnected PC1 and connected it to a telecommunication outlet. You must now reconnect PC1 and re-enable the port. So there's an interesting one there to work on. That's a troubleshooting one. And there's a configuring security switch features. This is SSH stuff here. Okay, so there's 3 labs in a row there. Okay, that's the lab actually, beg your pardon. Is it? It says packet tracer here. Is that wrong? That should be a lab, surely. Beg your pardon. That's a lab where you've got to do it yourself, right? It's like a configure your own devices thing. So there you go. That one, that one, that one. That's what we're going to do now. So if you take this one, in terms of your choice, I would say work through them all. I can print them out for you. Yeah, I'm going to get them printed off. Yeah, do you want them all? Do them all, yeah. Just to have it that way. This is all useful stuff. Your final. So I'm going to do them all for you. So let's get them all printed out for you. I'll be back in a few minutes, folks. 5227, 8 and 9. On it.